Hi everyone, my name is Gloria, and I want to tell you the story of how I was adopted by my birth mother. No, I'm not kidding. It really happened, and it feels really weird. Anyway, I'm going to start, and you guys have to like it, write a comment, and subscribe to the channel. I will. Things have always been complicated in my family. Who has often heard their parents swearing? I'm sure many of you have. My mother has always been a very gentle and kind woman. Since I was born late, an only child, my mother didn't hesitate to choose me and didn't regret it for a single day. I always felt her warmth and love. She stayed home and took care of me. Well, what about my father? He was hardly ever home. You know, I'm grateful to him for supporting us, and that's essentially how it should be, or should it? He had his own business, and he just loved having his mother praise him almost every night. He would come home late, sometimes not at all, and who knows where he was or who he was with. My mother was always anxious and worried about it, but she tried not to show me that. There were evenings when my father would come home drunk and then have a concert. Usually my mother would send me to bed, or I would already be asleep, but I would wake up from the noise.
I do everything for you, you ungrateful bitch. Where were you today?
At home, I told you, I was at home.
Don't lie to me, you bitch. Who came to see you today? The plumber? The delivery guy?
What are you talking about? I'm at home with my kid. I don't go out, I don't talk to anybody.
Yes, of course you do. My daughter spends half the day at school, and what do? You
don't let me go to work because you're jealous, so I stay at home, and you give me trouble for that?
Shut your mouth. You think I don't know how you look at others?
You're paranoid. Where did you go tonight? I called you and you didn't pick up, or you hang up.
Don't turn this around on me.
Install cameras if you don't believe me.
Yeah, 'cause you're dumb, right? You went out to get groceries and you were with someone else.
That's it. There's no point in talking anymore. But my dad wouldn't let up. It was the alcohol in him. I don't know why he was always jealous of my mom, because she really was always faithful to him. She always stayed home and never socialized with anybody. She didn't even have any friends of her own, except for me, her daughter. She didn't share anything, but we talked so much. I loved her more than my father because she really understood me, was always there for me, and never told me off for any dollar I spent. And then, one night, everything got turned upside down. Dad came home drunk again. He started breaking everything around him. Mom tried to calm him down by saying that he was going to wake me up, but Dad wouldn't stop.
I know everything.
What do you know?
I know that Gloria is not my daughter.
What? Are you crazy?
No. They sent me a very interesting document today.
Show it to me.
No. Get out of the house. It's mine.
Are you crazy? It's the middle of the night.
I don't care. Get out.
He didn't even let my mother say anything. He got up himself and started packing his things. I couldn't stand it, ran to their bedroom and started crying, begging him to wait till morning. But Dad pushed me, and I fell on the floor and cried. Mom jumped up and started to defend me, but he grabbed her by the hair and screamed and screamed. Mom wrapped her arms around me and then said, "Lock yourself in your room." I ran away and locked myself in. I just heard muffled knocks. He kicked her out and left me alone. He said it was his revenge. My mother screamed, tried to break the windows, cried, and called the police. But when they heard the address, they preferred to stay away. They knew my father's influence and his money. I didn't sleep all night. And in the morning, he told me that the nanny was going to take care of me. I didn't talk to my father. I didn't feel like it. He left for work, and I grabbed the phone and started dialing my mom. And then I heard the ringtone from their bedroom. Apparently, he had taken her device. I didn't know where to start looking for her, so I started small. I called all the hotels, morgues, and hospitals, emailed her, but there was no sign of her on social media either. I even went to the police, but they again, when they heard my name, decided to wash their hands of me. My chauffeur drove me to school and picked me up right after. I didn't even have a chance to look anywhere. I tried as hard as I could, calling all the above every day, but in vain. A whole month went by like that. My father kept saying that she didn't need me, otherwise she would have come back. I did not want to believe him, but after another month, the hope of finding her and, in general, the hope that she loved me began to fade. And then my father came and threw some documents on the table in front of me. What is it?
Your mother disowned you.
What?
I told you she didn't want you. She abandoned you and me. What's unclear about that?
It can't be.
Look at the statement and the signature.
With trembling hands, I opened the envelope and realized that it was my mother's handwriting. She had really written rejection of me. It broke my heart. My world turned upside down. So I don't have a mother anymore. And I'm not even sure if my father is really my birth father. I had a hard time. I stopped talking to my friends, I didn't go anywhere, and I withdrew. Thus, about 6 months passed. Not a call, not a message, anything. My dad acted distant too. Then he suggested I go to the town fair and shoot at the shooting range. He knew I loved that. My mom taught me how to shoot. I took some money from him and decided to have some fun. I got in line, bought some bullets, and shot. It went like that for about 5 rounds, and I couldn't hit the stupid can, even though I'd hit it the first time before. And then, poof, shot on target. I turned my head and saw an old lady next to me. She was wearing rags and a dirty hat and clothes. And then she looked me in the eyes, and I was shocked. Mom?
Shh! Meet me at the back of the tent in 3 minutes.
I followed after her. We were hidden from people. My mom clung to me, started crying, and I couldn't believe it was her. God, how did you find me? How did you even find me? Where were you? My girl, how I missed you. Your father deprived me of my rights to you, divorced me with false papers. He won't let me see you. He says you don't want to see me, but I don't believe him. What? He told me that you disowned me, and that's why you won't answer my letters. He blocked our mail, bought the court off and the police, and they won't let me go near the house. But I knew you were waiting for me. I knew you loved me. Mom! We hugged tightly, and then she told me her plan of action. In detail, what I had to do and how I had to do it. I went home. My father was just out. I sent the babysitter to the store for ice cream, and I found the key to my father's office safe in his bedroom. I took all the money, then threw away my phone, stole the keys to my mom's car, and moved the things I needed in there. 15 minutes later, when the babysitter came back, I pretended I wasn't feeling well and asked her to call my dad to buy me a new gun for the home range. He agreed, so I won another 2 hours. Then I went to bed and climbed out the window. My mother was waiting for me behind the bushes outside. I had also managed to put the guards to sleep by slipping sleeping pills into their dinner. So my mother and I left the house at full speed. After about 100 kilometers, we abandoned the car, rented another one, and drove out of town. But Dad found us. He called my mother on her cell phone and threatened to kill her and me if we didn't come back. My mother said that she realized everything and would do anything to protect me. But in the end, we drove on. At the edge of town, we went to the police to file a report against my dad. But they, upon hearing his name, refused to take the case again. And then it was my turn. I showed the tape of our conversation with my dad and told them I was going to post the video on TikTok with death threats. And that's when the cops came through for us. We told them that we had been regularly tyrannized and morally abused by my dad, that he had illegally deprived Mom of her rights and all that. Within a couple of hours, they brought him to the station in handcuffs. He was angry, saying he was going to destroy us both.
You lied to me, didn't you? About what?
Our child is your blood child. You used the fake papers as an excuse to get rid of me.
What is this nonsense?
I found out. After I was disenfranchised, you planned to marry your mistress, didn't you?
But she turned you down. I'm not answering that.
Of course, darling. You can keep quiet because anything you say will be used against you in court. Anyway, there was a lot more after that, but the nice thing is that my mom never gave up on me. All this time, she was digging for the truth, risking her safety. Now she's adopted me and got half of my father's estate. He's not in jail, of course, he paid them off, but my mom and I are very far away from him and happy now.
Hi everyone, I'm Trevor. I don't have any parents, so I'm a foster kid. But not so long ago, I was adopted and, my worst enemy became my parent. I'll tell you about it now. As I said, I don't know where I was born or who my parents are, I only know that I was brought to the threshold of an orphanage when I was very young. I was only 5 months old. As the teacher of the house says, it was the middle of the night, and someone was knocking hard on the boarding school door. And, when they came out, they saw me wrapped in a bag, a bottle with a mixture, and nothing else. I don't know who my parents are, why they gave up on me, or why they gave me life at all if they couldn't be responsible for it. But, on the other hand, I probably don't want to know. I grew up in a boarding school. Instead of having two parents, I had several nannies. Of course, life there with its own rules, restrictions, and problems, but I didn't know any other. In the orphanage, everyone told me that I was aggressive, impudent, ill-mannered, and bullying boy, and I did not understand what I was doing wrong. But personally, I was happy with everything. I wasn't going to dance and sing in front of anyone, because I didn't owe anyone anything. Time passed, and when I grew up, I went to school. I even lost count of how many schools I changed. I had my own stories in each of them. Often I had to defend my rights with my fists. I'm not a fan of violence, but, as it happens, you behave smoothly, and you're sure to get to the bottom of any boy like rich boy and start conflicts. And I hate when a kid behaves like a big mouth, and I use the tools of instant response. Fists. Both simple and fast and effective. But I often pay for it with my stability. Although this concept is relative, because, on the other hand, the fact that I was constantly expelled is also a kind of stability, right? When I was pushed into school for the last time, I had already lost all hope that I'd ever go to the same school for more than 2 months. They didn't want to take me, and this is understandable. What kind of principal would want such a student who constantly undermines the reputation of the institution? But in this, I was taken. The headmistress, Miss Mills, was interested in my candidacy. She said, "We educate even the worst," when I came into the office. This phrase already made me feel uneasy. One look from her said, "Sit down and shut up." Miss Mills had glasses, a jacket, a knee-length skirt, and a shirt inside, and she wore medium heels and probably never smiled. She had a reputation as an iron lady. Everyone was afraid of her, so I realized that I would not stay in this school for long. "Young man, sit up straight. This is not a pub," she shouted to me every time she entered the lesson. "Trevor Anders, come up to my office now. Trevor Anders, leave the dining room. Trevor Anders, go home and change your clothes. Trevor Anders, comb your hair. Trevor Anders, stand still. Trevor Anders, listen. Don't get in the way. Get in, get out." And blah, blah, blah. Oh no, I'm sick of the headmistress. I felt like she was being stupid and picking on me, but she didn't know yet that I wasn't going to let it go. I did everything to provoke her even more. I dropped flowers in pots, scribbled on school walls, furniture, always had a showdown in the schoolyard, fought with the guys, was late for classes, or just missed them outright. I knew I was pushing myself, but I couldn't let Miss Mills boss me around. For each joint, I got either a bad grade or a duty at school, and if I refused to comply, complaints went to the principal of the boarding school, and there I was punished worse. But one day, I got mad enough to plant a rat in her office. She screamed like she was out of her mind. The whole school heard her yell, and I laughed heartily. She immediately figured out who was responsible. I had already packed my things and was thinking of leaving, because the deduction was guaranteed. But she did something else, something I didn't expect. She adopted me. When I heard the news, I thought she was crazy. At first, I didn't even believe it, and then I asked why she did it, to which she replied that she would raise me. Then I realized how badly I was in trouble. From the next day, I started a different lifestyle. Wake up on the alarm clock, shower, breakfast, school without delay, then home, some chores, and sleep. I resisted for a long time, tried to escape, swore with her until I was blue in the face, but nothing took her. She clung to me, and that was it. She didn't have any children of her own. Or rather, she had a son who had been living in his life for many years and didn't even write to her. We fought it both at school and at home. It was a difficult year, but then I think I got used to it. I didn't think she was such a witch anymore. As soon as I thought about it, problems came into our more or less established life. The principal of the boarding school found me and said that my mother showed up and she wanted to meet me. We went there, along with Miss Mills. I have a habit, as it's called. I was terribly worried and didn't know what to expect. I saw before me a thin alcoholic who shamelessly looked me in the eye and said, "Let's go home, son. I need you." I was so stunned by these words that I just kept silent. Miss Mills grabbed my arm and told me to get in the car, and my birth mother started calling me and hit the headmistress. "What do you need it for? No one to work to buy you alcohol? He's my son and only my son. You are 17 years late," she shouted, and was about to leave. But so the alcoholic grabbed her by the hair and Miss Mills put her down with one right blow and went on. I was just blown away, and the principal of the boarding school pretended that he didn't see anything. She hasn't been in my life since. When we got home, I wanted to thank her, but she told me not to say anything, so she knows everything. Our life was back to normal. But we were happy early. Suddenly, her prodigal son appeared. The news that she had adopted a child must have spread and reached him. You might think he was jealous of his mother, but the first thing he did was come to me, tell me not to expect to inherit from her. That was all he was interested in. I didn't interfere in their affairs, but just stood on the sidelines and listened. The headmistress, of course, was delighted with him. After all, he was her own. He pretended to miss her, as if he was still alive. The last 2 weeks, I felt out of place, packed my things, and wanted to leave while Miss Mills was asleep. At the time, I heard her son talking to someone on the phone. He was going to rob his own mother. I couldn't let that happen. I ran into the bedroom and warned her, but she didn't believe me and even yelled at me when I was asleep. I wanted to leave and give up on her, but I remembered how she stood up for me in front of my mother and hit properly, pretended that I was gone. As I said, her son brought a gang of guys into the house and they started stealing everything of value in masks. I called the police, and when they got to her bedroom, I jumped out and stood in front of the door, protecting myself with a bat. They attacked me, and I resisted as best I could. But while they were beating me, the police came and they ran away. Miss Mills was in shock. She couldn't believe what was happening. When she saw the state I was in, she immediately hugged me. From that moment on, we agreed to trust each other. I think we came into each other's lives for a reason. This is the story, friends, but what do you think? Write your opinion in the comments.